How does a congregational church work? What does that even mean to be a congregational church? You may be familiar with some other church structures where there is a main leader, someone who's in charge, and then maybe they have a council under them. And then within that council, there are leaders who are in charge of different areas, their turf, their geographic area. And then they have leaders under them and they have their turf, their area that they're in charge of. And eventually, below all of that, there are local churches and local church leaders, all taking direction from the councils and the leaders above them. In a congregational church, we kind of flip things upside down. We know that we are a big church, manifest in many places. Each local congregation makes up this larger church. And these churches, this big church in many places, it's in charge. There are local leaders that are called as pastors that are invited to serve on councils and boards. They give direction to those who are nearby, those who are called to support local congregations, those who are called to help us do things we can do better together than we could by ourselves. But they're taking all their direction from these local churches, these congregations. As we pull together geographic groups to help us do things better together, we also pull together representatives to be our voice, to help structure and organize us to do more, to pull in experts and resources. It allows us to reach across the country and around the world. And then we have executive support staff, people who help the vision of this big church in so many places. Take the gifts of leaders and find ways to share the voice of this church and do God's work around the world. In the United Church of Christ, these congregations, these independent churches who have covenanted to be together, are at the top of the decision-making process. Below them are associations and conferences. They help groups of churches in geographic areas work together, support each other, or just be the best congregation each of them can be on their own. And then we have a national church. And every couple of years, we get together with representatives from all across our United Church of Christ, from all those congregations, associations, and conferences. And we have a big meeting to talk about things that are important in the world, to talk about how we do our work together. And then we ask our national staff to make it so, or to help us live it out. So congregations, including ours, led by volunteers, and then associations that are led by clergy, by ministers, and volunteers. And they help organize things like the standing or credential of our ministers to make sure they have the qualifications they need, the continuing ed they require, the support they need. And then a conference holds those local associations together, gives them a structure and a place to work as a team. Volunteers and staff, including a conference minister and a board or council, they help lead our conference ministry, something we're all in together. At the national level, we have our general minister and president and a lot of staff in different offices and agencies that help us do amazing things together. And then there's that general synod, representatives from every level of the church coming together to be the church, to wrestle with complicated questions, and then send their thoughts and reflections back out to those local churches, empowering them to do Christ's work. So how does your congregation work? Well, if you've visited one congregational church, you've visited one. They're all completely different. There's a lot of things that connect them, a lot of similarity. that everyone has their unique local expression. There is a congregation, and congregations have a council. These are the called leaders. Within the council, there are officers, a moderator and vice moderator, or president and vice president. There's chairs of committees or teams or ministries, and there are clergy, they're ministers. Though usually the ministers don't have a vote in a council meeting, but they're included and a part of the conversation. But all are welcome. Sometimes on a sensitive topic or something confidential, some councils will have a closed meeting, but the input of the congregation is always sought after and welcomed. Council will often create ministry teams, committees, plan special events, or have ongoing projects. Check your congregation's bylaws to see how all the pieces work together, to see who reports to who supports who, and how it all comes back to empowering a local congregation to do their work. So where does a minister fit into all this? The council, if the church is looking for a minister, appoints a search team who will work with the conference to find candidates. Our United Church of Christ community recommends a master's degree or equivalent degree for ordination. We believe firmly in the connection between faith and reason, to have an educated clergy who can be resident theologians, but not always the boss. A search team will read profiles of ministers, interview those they wish to learn more about, check references, and when they think they have the right person, they invite them for a visit. If that goes well, they can recommend that minister to the council, who will then present them to the congregation. Then everyone votes. The minister serves the church in partnership with the council. Ministers don't get to make all the decisions or tell the council what to do. Likewise, the council doesn't really tell the minister everything they should do. It's a partnership. And when they start together, churches and ministers agree upon a contract. They set expectations. They think about the gifts and needs of the community, the gifts and needs of that minister, and the work they'll do together. And they create a vision together. And if ministers or congregations need some extra support or resources, there's an association or conference ready to help. There's a wider church body ready to equip and empower. But it all starts and comes back to the local congregation. How does a congregational church work? Together. Together.